I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems alright. Seems alright. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems alright. Seems alright. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems alright. Seems alright. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems alright. Seems alright. It's the stuff that you do when you are alone and nobody's watching. What is it going to be today? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems alright. Seems alright. I don't know. I don't know what I am doing, but it seems alright. Seems alright. It seems alright. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems alright. Seems alright. Hi there. This is not a podcast. This is a rap song. This is the song of my life. This is what I would like to give ya. This is what I had in mind when I was thinking about music. This is what I had in mind, only I never knew this. I just started singing and something came up. Something came out of me, and I never knew where from. I realized I'm a junkie. I'm addicted to everything I see. I'm addicted to everything I know. I see something, it makes me horny, it makes me want it. I see a pair of breasts, beautiful breasts. I see a pair of breasts wiggling around, and I wanna rub my face in them. It doesn't really matter whose breasts they are, but I want to be inside. I want to crawl into the womb. I want to crawl back into the womb and hide myself just like I used to do when I was a child. When I was a toddler, an infant, an embryo, a little baby boy. I wake up, I turn on the coffee machine. I wake up, my first thought is with sugar and coffee. I wake up, it's all I can do to stop to masturbate, but here I am. I'm drinking a coffee, some caffeine, something to boost me. My mind is addicted. My mind is addicted to all the things that make me high. It may be a pair of breasts, so soft, so wiggly, I wanna suck 'em. I wanna take my penis and put it into a vagina. It is these moments where I have to face my own darkness. It is these moments where I look into the mirror and I don't know who it is that is looking back at me. I think, is that truly me? Or is this my addiction? Is this my demon? Is it my shadow? 'Cause I don't know. I look at something something like me, but it's not me. There was a time where I was okay without anything. I drank no coffee, I ate no sugar, I watched no porn, and hell yeah, I didn't masturbate. But at some point, all these things started to fill me up. They made me want them. I am the victim. What can I do? I am an addict. I'm a freaking junkie. And as much as I hate it, I have to admit that in a way I love it. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love breasts? But it's only one pair that I want, and so I have to be strong. I want to give myself what I want, all these things to give me. I want to give myself the love that I think that coffee has for me, because all it ever does is it can drain me. It drains all the things that I wanted to be there. It just takes them out. It takes them out, and in a way it makes me sad, so sad. It makes me sad, so sad. It makes me sad, so sad. 'Cause I don't know why I'm an addict, but here I am. Yes, I'm an addict.
Oh, wow.
But I also know that there is something that I can do about it. And here I sit and I sing. I sit and I sing.
Oh, wow. Somebody actually listened to this. But then he left, probably when he saw me coming. He's like, oh, it's an empty room. I cannot hear him speak. What's going on? It's like, oh, yeah. I see you. You listened for 2 minutes and 21 seconds, or so it seems, right? All right. First, I have to check if the microphone offset is still working. Check if the microphone offset is still working. Hello, microphone. Are you still in sync? If the microphone offset is still working. Hello, microphone. Are you still in sync? If the microphone offset is still working. Yeah. All right. Here we have an interesting topic, and it's called addiction, right? It's one more time, the mind of an addict. And now the question arises, what does that mean? What is he talking about? Well, so you could say that I'm standing here as a representation of your own bullshit, yeah? Wow. And I really mean that. Because I have been You know, now that's a very interesting thing. I really like the setting, but yeah. I feel a little bit claustrophobic when I cannot move freely. And sometimes it's alright, but I also really like to move freely, if you know what I mean. Nah. Okay. It's actually better if I don't see what's going on and if people are actually watching this or not. To me, it's much better. So I decided now to drink this coffee. I already have heartburn. I feel, when I wake up in the morning, I feel the weight of the coffee. How it makes my body feel acidic and more toxic. And yet here I stand drinking another coffee. Why do I do that? Okay, that's very complicated. I think that I help people if I experiment with myself. I think that if I'm very unpredictable, it confuses people, and maybe I think it makes them like me more. It's actually not quite true. You know, now we have to understand what addiction is, and that's very, very complicated. Because there are all kinds of factors that play into why you are very fond, that's what you also could say to addiction, of a certain thing, or two, or maybe 10, right? I mean, you could even say you're addicted to life. Because if you weren't, would you still live? And so, when we are in this spiritual realm, you suddenly think you have to be this perfect person, and suddenly you have all these ridiculous expectations that you think you need to fulfill. You think suddenly, maybe I cannot have sex anymore, right? You know, I don't know what kind of person you are. Maybe you really like orgies, but you can't stop. Is it bad to have an orgy? I don't know. I would hate it. To me, I would hate having an orgy. Because I don't like focusing on too many people, right? You know, if I want to have sex, I just want to be me and my wife. And that was always so. You know, even before I knew I had a wife, I just wanted it to be me and the other woman. Or, you know, before I was a man, and before, you know, women were women, you know, were we boys and girls or something? I don't know. Teenagers, young men and young women, or just males and females? What were we before we reached, I don't know, masculinity or femininity, or maybe just children? Maybe we are still children, because in a way, you know, I see how I'm very serious about life. You know, and I make it with such faces, so I'm very serious. But am I? I mean, how serious am I really? Right, I'm wearing my cap backwards. That's the second coffee today. I've said already multiple times in my life, I will never drink coffee again. I also said multiple times in my life, I will never have sex again. I even said that. I also said I will never masturbate again. I also said I hate cars and I don't want one. I said from now on I will only wipe my ass with water, so not use toilet paper. You know, I've said that as well. I also said, yeah, what else did I say? You know, I'm gonna go running every day. You know, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. And then I stopped. So, you know, sometimes I say things, but you could say that I was a little bit ignorant. Maybe I had been overusing it. It's like having a relationship and then you think every time you hit that point where it gets a little bit hard, you have to break up. Maybe you just need some distance. Doesn't mean you always have to break up. But some people don't understand that. Some people think if there's distance, it means it's a breakup. But it doesn't mean that. Because if you, in your heart, you're true to that person, and you always make an effort to get back to the place where you say, man, I love you, just can't help it. No, I really tried being with other women, you know, not like really tried, but at least I was considering it. But every time I got to the point where it could have been an option, you know, I said, fuck that, I don't want it. You know, because I already have someone. I never did that before. So what is really an addiction? Because when I think about the things that I like, you know, I'm often a little bit greedy with them. You know, I'm often a little bit greedy with them. I actually like coffee to a certain degree, because in a way it also helps me. But I use it also consciously. So there were times, that is true, where I really fought to drink less coffee because I had a really bad heartburn. I had heartburn for 4 years, like straight, couldn't get rid of it. And then I sorted out my diet and all kinds of stuff and worked on my emotions, and whoosh, it got better. And then I also figured out, okay, maybe I just should stop drinking coffee. And then I said, I'm never gonna drink coffee again, right? But then I came back from Amsterdam and then I was at home and I felt depressed. And suddenly I started drinking coffee again. And it helped me to push through my depression. And so, you know, when you listen to Terence McKenna, he says, you know, what makes you so special? You know, why can't you humble yourself to say, I need help from a plant? You know, I'm making some kind of contract with a plant to help me to get through, you know, whatever I'm struggling with at the moment. And that's the thing, because right now I'm struggling with, I don't know what. I'm struggling with a lot of stuff. Most of my life I've been really imbalanced, but that has changed now, right? You know, suddenly I have a goal, I have someone I want to be with, you know, I have something to work towards. And that also means that, you know, to me, I'm not just drinking coffee anymore because I want to have a blast or, you know, just because I feel a bit down. Now I'm drinking coffee because I feel so heavy that I cannot manage to push through that. And then I say, you know what? I'm just gonna drink coffee for a while because a part of me also really likes coffee. Because in a way, yes, it changes the way I feel and I can work with that to access all kinds of emotions. You see, before I was just drinking coffee and I had no idea what it was doing. And so what was addiction? You know, I wanted to have a feeling and I used coffee to give me that feeling. Now, why did I drink coffee then is the question. Well, it's possible that we think that life is really shit and terrible, and we drink coffee because, that undermines that statement. That makes us feel the way we think life should be. Because if it's too harmonious, we think something is wrong. We think if it's too harmonious, something is wrong. Something is missing because we're used to life being stressful. We are used to being constantly in this because that's how we were raised, right? It's like pressure from all kinds of sides. Everybody's trying to get you to do something. People are shouting at you. People force you to go to school. All your needs are being rejected. And then you are really frustrated, on the inside. And then you drink coffee, and what does coffee do? It at least, it makes you feel something. It gives you like it's like masturbation. So the thing is, I've been watching porn since I was 16. It's one of my major addictions. And now I'm asking you the question, does the responsibility for my porn addiction have to rest on my shoulders alone? Or could I also humble myself enough and say, without a woman that loves me, I simply don't manage. And a woman that loves me from a distance simply isn't enough. It simply isn't enough. And that's a fact, because I've tried. I've tried loving a woman from the distance. And for me, personally, it doesn't work, because in certain ways, I have to deal with a lot of things to keep my life in order. I have to make sure, because that's my job, to produce content. My heart wants that. If I don't produce content, I start to feel really bad. And you may think, well, that's a terrible job then. Well, it isn't, because when I am creative and when I stand here and I talk, I feel good. But if I don't do that, I feel terrible. So it's a really good job, because it fills me, I like it. I like to stand here. I like this madness I have in my eyes, this glimmer of, yeah, man, right? I like to, wow, engage with the camera. I like this kind of job. I like this kind of life. And if I wake up and I feel terrible, and then between me and standing here stands my desire to drink a coffee, then do you really think I'm gonna fight off the desire to drink coffee? Because I'm too proud and I think, oh, but I'm spiritual now. I shouldn't even, want to drink coffee. Yeah, but right now I want to drink it. Maybe I even need to drink it. Because somehow it connects me to something. Because right now, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening. I'm not a person, like most people, they walk around and they think, yeah, that's me. I think it's me, Wait, do I look good if I wear the hat like this, right? Oh my god, I have too much breast hair. The hair between my eyebrows is connecting. Oh my god, am I walking a bit weird? Is somebody watching me? So people are like really trapped inside who they think they should be or might be. They have no idea who they are. I know who I am, because I have had ample opportunity to make experiences that have shown me who I am. And now it's not just a question of who am I? Yeah, it's more, how do I feel? Because when I am, I know it. It's like what Rhonda says, when you meet your guru, there won't be, you don't have to ask the question if that's your group, but there just won't be any doubt. So when I know I am me in the moment, because I feel like I'm myself, that's it, you know, that I know I am me. I don't have to do anything about that. Right now I know I'm me. Because I have a feeling that I connect with being me, and that's standing here and saying, hello world, my name is Christopher, right? When I stand here and I'm creative, then I'm me. That's a feeling I have. And when I'm laying in my bed and I wake up and I feel shit, then that's not the feeling where I want to be, because that's not me. That's something else. That's whatever, right? My fear, or I don't know what. Because when I'm me, there's nothing to worry about. But if all these things keep happening to me, you know, that really brings me far away from me. So if I have the feeling, if I drink a coffee now, I'm going to get back to myself, you know, I'm just going to do that. But the only problem is, now I'm using something to feel like myself and to get out of my depression. So I'm drinking coffee because it keeps me above water. If I don't drink that coffee, I'm like, sinking down. And if I drink the coffee, I'm like, oh yeah, now I feel good. Yeah, and then 30 minutes later, that's the problem with coffee. Because now you're using something to make yourself feel how you think, you know, you want to feel right now. Now, you can do that your whole life, and for the rest of your life, you will cling to drinking coffee, and you will never know how you could have felt if you would have allowed yourself to experience how you would feel if you wouldn't drink coffee for, let's say, half a year. Wow. Right? So, the first album I ever made is called Addiction. You know, you can find that on all kinds of streaming services and on Bandcamp. That was the one I was playing in the beginning. I don't really know what I sang there, right? I just sang about addiction. I don't really know. It was the first album I ever made. It just happened. And I've been working with my addiction quite a lot. And I realized that, you know, I'm addicted to a lot of things. But addiction to me is being labeled as something really, really bad. Because when I look at the people in my surroundings, then everybody is addicted to something. You know, some people are addicted to movies. You know, some people are addicted to cleaning their nose really loud. Some people are addicted to cleaning their ears with these, you know, things that you use for cleaning ears that are actually not for cleaning ears, but that people use because it feels really good, right? It's a feeling in that moment when you clean your ear. It's like, oh yeah, oh, you know, it's almost orgasmic. You know, that's how it is. You know, some people are addicted to keeping their space clean. Then there's people that are addicted to certain kinds of food or to coke or to all kinds of things. And usually these addictions are piggybacking feelings that we try to recreate. So if you're really addicted on sugar, then it's very likely that your sugar addiction is piggybacking some kind of feeling that you had in your childhood. And because your mother was feeding you sugar and you're like, oh, you know, you connect that with getting love from your mother or from birthdays and happy times and playing around and being like, ah, yeah. You just keep eating sugar because you want to feel like that again. But then the problem is, I mean, then you become some kind of junkie, right? Because the solution would be to say, okay, I acknowledge that if I keep eating sugar, this has all kinds of side effects. Because I see nothing wrong. I see nothing wrong. Or I feel like there is nothing wrong with eating sugar for the rest of your life. If that makes you happy, just do it, right?
I also see that there is nothing wrong with drinking coffee for the rest of your life.
If that really, really makes you happy. Yeah. But the thing is, how long will that really work for you? And is your addiction stopping you from reaching your full potential? Because the experience I've made with my own addictions is that if I cling too much to these things, they make me weak. Because I never learned to be strong. Because in order to say no to a desire, the desire to feel a certain way, the desire to watch porn, the desire to masturbate, the desire to be loved, the desire to whatever. If I just give in to all of these things, I'm literally the bitch of my desires. And then I'm gonna leave the house and I want to go for a hike. And the moment I come home, I'm like, I have to drink coffee again, right? Maybe I want to go for a 3-hour hike. And after 1 hour, I just go back because I really need coffee. Or I'm in a relationship now, right? You know, I'm just thinking I'm a man. I mean, there's women that are addicted to masturbation or something, right? But with men, it seems to be like really with porn. But I assume there's also women that are addicted to porn. Because there's also certain beauty in porn. I mean, if you watch two women pleasing a man, I mean, it's kind of beautiful, isn't it? It's kind of beautiful. So I also get that there is a certain beauty to it. So sure, you can get addicted to that. It's like really soft stuff happening. You know, it's like, oh yeah, man, pleasure. You know, these kind of sounds. You know, I don't want to glorify porn or something because it is in a way disgusting. And it wastes a lot of your potential. And I mean, would you watch porn and masturbate if your grandma would be in the room? If your children would be in the room? If your wife would be sitting next to you? Well, some would probably do that. But then how would you look if you would look at yourself from the outside? Well, you would look quite pathetic. And if you think about it, and you would go for a walk, and you couldn't even walk for 3 hours because, you know, you get lazy because without sugar you don't have any energy, you know, it's quite pathetic. If you think about what humans can do, that there are humans that don't eat for 2 weeks and they still get a lot of stuff done. You know, if you know that there are people who are very active and never drink any coffee, never masturbate, and they have so much energy, they probably don't even know what to do with it. Or they know what to do with it, and so they just keep giving. I mean, I do all these things. Yeah, I eat way less sugar now. I also drink way less coffee. You know, I drink coffee now because I made a choice. You know, I felt like I needed it to push me through this phase. Because right now it's really heavy, really heavy, really heavy. I just couldn't maintain it. Because I have a lot of fear I'm dealing with. Just in general, there's a lot of stuff happening that makes me afraid, and I'm dealing with that on a daily basis. You know, sometimes that works for a couple of days. You know, I'm walking around like this. You know, today I feel really good. La 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 la. And then suddenly it's like bats. You know, it's like I'm walking through a portal. And, before I was standing on a beach, in terms of how I feel about myself, and there was like a warm breeze, and suddenly I wake up the next day, bats! Something's happened. I don't know what, and I just feel terrible. Well, what do I do then? Well, optimal, when I think in terms of, oh, I'm spiritual now, and, I don't need anything anymore. Yeah, I'd probably stay that way. I'd probably keep feeling like that. Feel like, oh yeah, I'm really spiritual. But then there's this voice that says in my head, get off your high horse. Get off your high horse, mate. You aren't that enlightened. You have understood a few things, right? You know how to pull your own weight, all right? You don't shout at people anymore, all right? You create all that content, but I think you really need to humble yourself once in a while and say, damn it, today I really need that coffee. And that makes me angry. Because I don't want to drink it, because in my perfect world, there wouldn't even be any coffee. Right? There would just be nature and long hair. Right? It's like, wow! But the truth is, there is coffee. And there's sugar, and there's porn, and there's the habit of masturbation, and there's cake, and there are other people, and there are cars, and there is toxic air, and there's electricity, and there are computers, and there are phones. There's all kinds of stuff. So I have to choose, right? So if I feel heavy today, and I try to get out of it, and I don't manage, then suddenly I think, maybe drink a coffee. But now the problem with that is, I could have gotten out of this without the coffee, if my resolve would have been a little bit stronger. But I also had to I would have had to sacrifice something for that. Because right now I don't want to leave the house. I'm forcing myself to be with myself, alone in my room, so that I'm working out my trauma stuff. That I'm working out and I'm creating content. Because that's what I want to do right now, right? For whatever reason, it's just it's my problem. Because I feel like that's what I'm here to do, right? So I'm figuring out my own life. And just right now, I simply don't want to leave the house. So I wake up, I feel heavy, I think about leaving the house. Think, nope, no way, I don't want to do it. Because right now I want to be here, I want to create. And then I think about, well, I could dance now. Then I think, I can't do it. It's too heavy, I'm too heavy. Yeah, I just have to drink that coffee now. And then I drink the coffee, and the consequence is I didn't work out. Because I also could have worked the heaviness out of myself, by building up strength. Right? If you feel weak or you feel cold, what do you do? What do you do on a cold day where you feel, maybe it's not even that cold, but you feel cold on the inside? What do most people do? They put on warm socks. They have a hot bath. They turn up the radiator. Yeah, you could even eat ginger, but that's already very healthy, right? That's like really uncomfortable. What else do people do? Well, some people go for a walk. Some people simply go and cook a soup that nourishes them. Some people eat sugar. Maybe some people smoke. Some people drink coffee. And a few people, they actually work out on a regular basis, so they never feel like that. That's the whole point. So if I would be working out regularly, I would never feel the way I feel right now. So often the problem is that we got used to being weak. And one of the reasons why we get used to being weak and miserable and irritated is because everybody else is. Do you know a lot of people that really are fine without a lot of things? I know very few people that never drink coffee, that never eat sugar, that never masturbate. And the experience I've made is that most people that I know, they drink coffee, they eat sugar, they eat cake, they eat a lot of shit, way too much, but they don't look very good. Like their energy, their aura is like they're very pale. They look like there's nothing happening in them anymore. Like feelings-wise, they look like, that's the modern man. So you always look in your surroundings for, oh, that's how I'm supposed to be, right? Or that's how people are generally. Well, people in this kind of society and world, they're all sick because they spend most of their days inside. They barely move. Their hips, their joints, their backs are literally broken. It's all rusty. Energy doesn't flow. So to have somebody like Gandalf standing there and says, "You shall not pass." Who does that? It's like, nobody takes these things very serious. Right? So I do take my stuff, a bit serious, but sometimes also not. Because if I'm just really serious all the time, and I push away all the things that I once liked, then what's happening? Well, what is happening? Well, sometimes it gets a little bit scary. Because if I'm trying to grow too fast, if I'm trying to outgrow all my addictions at the same time, then who am I? I'm used to drinking coffee. I'm used to eating sugar. I'm used to, right? I'm used to watching movies. I'm used to reading books. I'm used to going out with friends and getting drunk. I'm used to all kinds of things. And now if I stop them at the same time, all at once, it's usually barely possible to maintain that because it's too far away from where you started. Because you started by being a full-on addict. And there was a reason you had all these addictions. Because these addictions helped you to somehow keep going. It was a vehicle for you to simply keep going. And that means when you want to work with your addictions, you have to replace them bit by bit. And as you do that, you will realize that sometimes you had an addiction because you had a trauma. And the trauma was so heavy. And so every time you were in a certain situation or, something happened and your trauma was being poked, like, wow, it's painful, you started to feel heavy. And as soon as you started to feel heavy, what did you do? You went to your method. And we are living in, I like the word cocaine. Not the cocaine that you snort, but the cocaine, in German, the word is Schlaraffenland. It's the country where there's like streams of milk and honey. So what kind of method do we use here? Well, we just eat. We take stuff from the outside because we're all lazy, because we were brought up in a system that believes you can buy anything with money. So you try paying for pleasure. Some people go to a prostitute, other people buy a computer game, other people eat, some people watch porn, some people masturbate. So you pay for pleasure. Some people, I don't know, go traveling. There's all kinds of ways how people deal with their shit. But most of them are things that you take from the outside. And that's the methods that we use here. In this kind of Western, we are all lazy and confused. So we feel a certain way, we don't even know that we feel that way, because we are afraid of feeling that way, because we think we have to be all perfect, because we run around like powdered aristocrats. Right? It's like, have you ever heard of the Sun King in the 14th century or something in France? The way they used to live there. They would just never wash. They would just powder themselves and put on lots of perfume. Well, what do you think we're doing today? We shave our armpits. We shave our pubic hair. We shave our faces. And then we powder ourselves. And then we pluck our eyebrows. Oh, my eyebrows should have a certain shape. And then we polish our nails. That's how much time we have to deal with such ridiculous things. So while we are busy destroying the planet, because we've got nothing else to do, we're just bored. We're just so bored. We are really bored. Because this kind of system, it's a dead end. This is, in terms of life, it's a dead end. The direction this society is going is a dead end. There's nothing. It's just gonna get worse from now on. People are going to be fully vaccinated, right? And what else? All kinds of shit is gonna happen. People gonna really dive into virtual reality. They're probably gonna get to that point. You sometimes see it in these movies. Then gonna make physical alterations, replace body parts with machines or something. They're gonna have computer chips. This is the direction we're heading in. People will just live in this virtual world. They do already. Have you heard of virtual reality? It's an escape. We're literally escaping from life. And not just us, also the people that make money with us. They also escape from life. Because they're afraid to die. So they want to have money. This whole society is built on fear. Because without fear, you wouldn't need any of this. Why would you need a car? Why do you have to be anywhere? Why can't you just be where you are? Why do a car gives me the freedom to go where I want to go? What? Where do you want to go then? If you're happy where you are, and you are always where you are, so, if you think you're unhappy here, then driving 2 hours is gonna do what for you? Then you're gonna drive 2 hours and you're gonna go on holiday, but in the end you always come back. You always come back to this place. And I've tried it. I've tried running away from myself. I was born here, not here in this room, but in this general area. And then I went to study, and I was gone for 9 years. I only came occasionally. I studied these things that I did. I lived in the Barbarian forest. I lived in in Maastricht for 1 year. Then I was in South Africa for roughly 2 years. And then I came back here. And what I realized while I was in South Africa was, I had blue sky and people and lots of sex with young, beautiful women. And I didn't have to do much. I could go running and slacklining. And I had, I got weed for really cheap, something like 70 cents per gram. But it was like really nice there. It was ready to dry. But it was not genetically modified. It was just weed that was growing outside. And they call it dacha. It's not, I'm not sure it's really weed, but it certainly contains THC or something. So I was just smoking and having a good time, and then I came back here and I realized, well, I wasn't really happy all the time in South Africa either. I think I should have been, but I thought, why don't I go out every day and take pictures? But I didn't. Often it took me 2 weeks before I went taking pictures again because I felt so heavy all the time. I wasn't happy in South Africa. And I came back here, I wasn't happy either. And then, life happened, and I tried to escape several times from here. But the way life happened was that I kind of got stuck here. And I got stuck here, and I also decided, okay, I'm just gonna stay put. I'm not gonna try to run away anymore. I decided then, this is what I want to do, right? I asked the question, what do I want? And the answer was, write a book about fear. Write a book about fear, right? And I started doing that. And that started a whole series of other things. And I just started asking questions to the point where it made me angry because there is no end to questions. But in a way there is. Because now, I always thought, why do I drink coffee? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? Because I kept asking these things, I started to get answers because I was very persistent. For 1 year, I dealt with the question, what is fear? And then I had so many answers that I wrote a whole book about it. Bush! Zack! That's how gathering insights works. So when I realized I have a problem with my coffee addiction, and it's getting out of hand because I have heartburn, and that just can't be good, because if you go to bed at night and you have so much heartburn you just can't stop drinking coffee, well, you'll find a way. Because most people, they don't know that they're toxic and that they have too much acid in their system. Because maybe they're not like me, because when I do something, I really do it. If I go running, then I go running, right? If I drink coffee, then I drink coffee. And when I make art, I make art. And then I make a YouTube channel, then I make a goddamn YouTube channel. And then I go really nuts with it. Yeah. And then I make 5 recordings a day, and I bam. That's how I started writing books. Sometimes I wrote in one night 1 book. Okay, that wasn't a very long book, but I just like whoosh, pushed it out. Because if I have a method, I'll just use it. So when my method to feel good is coffee, I'm like da, 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 da. I just keep drinking it. But then coffee makes you feel so shit at one point that you're gonna realize, okay, replacing or having these kind of methods of eating and drinking things and buying things and using other people to make myself feel better or to get away from how I feel is going to destroy you in the end. So when you say, the mind of an addict, it's just the mind of an addict. What does it want? It wants love. It wants to feel loved. And it's trying to get love out of all kinds of things. Add. There's the word add in addiction, to add something. I feel like I'm not enough, so I'm trying to add something to that. That's what it is. Why do I feel I'm not enough? Because something is missing inside of me. There's love missing. There's something missing. Life is missing. And that's how you feel when you have a trauma. I wrote that story. And it's based on an experience that I've had. While I was in an ayahuasca ceremony. It's not necessary that you need that. I've also had it without that. Walking around and then suddenly realizing there's a child crying inside of you. You really hear that, but for that you have to start to listen. And if you're busy trying not to listen, because you're busy wanting all these things, because it distracts you from how you feel, then you can never quiet down enough. Because if you keep drinking coffee all the time, how are you supposed to quiet down enough to feel what you are feeling at the moment? And when what you are feeling is a memory from your childhood that to you seems like it's ridiculous, that shouldn't even be a problem, but to that child inside of you, this was hell. Right? I remember situations, I grew up and my parents liked to watch movies. Just watch TV in the evening. And they watched a movie called The Green Mile. And I remember that I went in there as a child and they allowed me to watch it with them. Because that was what they perceived as having a good time, right? And I watched that movie and there was that scene where the guy is being put on the electric chair. The guy with the mouse. And, he puts that, I think it's that scene. He puts that, he doesn't wet the sponge. So the man, it was a very kind man. And he's just really suffering before he dies. And I, as a child, just started to cry. And in that moment, it just irritated my parents. And they sent me to my room. Because I was disturbing their evening. And you may think, well, it's not really bad for a child. Well, grow up. But I was a child. And that was very hard for me. And so now I'm on Medium. Hiya. It's called Emotional Shockwaves. It's a 3-minute read. I'm going to give you that. I was in the middle of an emotional outbreak. Things were happening everywhere, all at once and never again. Suddenly the noise ended. I was standing alone in the darkness, and I could hear a child crying in the distance. What the fuck is going on? That belonged together. What the fuck is going on? Like that? Maybe a tad bit different. What the fuck is going on? Does that sound right? Almost. Damn. Expressing this stuff is fairly and unspeakably difficult at times. At times almost impossible. Might just say anything and confuse them a little longer, until they realize that no amount of words could ever truly express the emotions I felt when I was what? Was what? A voice comes out of nowhere and mimics your stupid ass question. Leave the ass out of this, the voice adds, and then, it had nothing to do with it. True. The ass had nothing to do with it. But it was standing there and somebody had to take the blame for how I felt. Seriously. What was that crying doing inside of me? It wasn't supposed to be there. You see, it wasn't supposed, but it was there. All I did was walking around in myself, and suddenly I heard this sobbing from somewhere. I calmed down a little and looked for some courage. I saw it lurking in a distant corner of myself and somehow got it to come with me. Amazing. So me and courage started walking and the sobbing got louder. It got very loud. Incredibly loud. The sobbing was now clearly distinguishable as the sobbing of a child, and somehow it seemed familiar. I walked closer, and the closer I got, the heavier the air around me started to feel. It was like there was something dark and abysmal dragging me down into a depression. What is this? I asked into myself. And the sound of the question reverberated through me like the sound of a fart in a cave full of sleeping bats. Quiet now, I thought this time, and a spasmodic whisper followed the thought. The thought was as loud as the question, and I realized for the first time how much thinking disturbs the self. Amazing! Wow! It gave a whole new meaning to useless thoughts such as this. Like there is this annoying commentator in myself that has to make situations even more troublesome by labeling them with words like this. I felt myself drifting away from the story. But courage came and pinched me, and I realized that fear was beginning to distract me from my purpose. I had a mission. And the mission was to find out where the crying came from. I felt it now very close. It was sobbing. And the darkness began to take hold of me. I kept walking and suddenly it was right there. This beautiful little part of myself was sitting in the dark corner of myself and felt terrible. I had the feeling of being with a child and I asked, "What's wrong, Christopher?" "These children were so mean to me," the voice said, interrupted by more sobbing and more sobbing. I felt an incredible amount of love for this part of myself. Love that I had rejected it for so many years because I had been too afraid to pay attention to it. I directed all my love and compassion at this tortured piece of my soul and I said, "I love you, Christopher." It was honest. The childlike apparition suddenly was no longer dark and heavy, but light. Light in weight and light in darkness. I felt it merge back into me and I came back to the collection and I came back to because it is the collection of my parts that I would call the self. There were many more, however. Over the years, I met many such lost parts in myself. Sometimes I had to work on a trauma for a month before I would have lifted enough emotional debris to get to it. It was heavy work, but revealing. Satisfying even. If I could feel like this in myself, then how would other people feel? Empathy right in your face. And that's the image. I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't really matter. But usually I post an image with these things, because that's what the emotion represents, right? So, that's what you need. You need to be a little bit courageous. You need to be a bit like a dragon, If it's dark, you just have to breathe fire. You have to be able to protect yourself. So in a way, you need sharp claws and teeth. That's what inspires a lot of my art, right? That's what I draw because that's how I need to be. It's like the mentality of a warrior. Because if you're too weak to push through your trauma, because you think things should be different than they are, well, then you keep yourself in a state of ignorance. Because right now you feel shit. And to pretend like you feel good means you're gonna keep feeling shit because you're trying to live a fantasy. You are trying to act like, yeah, I feel terrible. No. You're going to pretend like you feel good, but you feel terrible, so you're living a lie. And that means you're just going to keep using coffee, you're going to keep using movies, you're going to keep using all of these things for the rest of your life, and it's going to be a trap. Well, for me, these things started to become my way out of this. How? Because I stopped using them for a while. And so for a while, I always had to rely only on myself. Most people, they drink coffee once and then they drink it for the rest of their lives. Every day. Some even drink, they start drinking more and more of it until they get maybe some kind of heart disease or whatever. Because you're always running away from fear, which means your heart never opens. You have to open your heart like this. But if every time you feel afraid, instead of opening your heart, you just drink coffee to get rid of the fear, then you can't look at it. And if you don't look at your fear, then your fear is going to chase you around through your whole life. And that's then the source of your addiction. You're actually a coward. Or you're very emotionally unstable or, traumatized or whatever. But in the end, it's your choice. You can do something about this. So what I started doing is I tried first to get rid of these things. And then for a while, I was very strict, right? I really tried with coffee. And then I managed, and I didn't drink it for quite a while. And then I crashed, and then I drank it again. And then I said, okay, I'm going to allow this to happen for a while. And then I'm going to, strengthen myself. I'm going to observe why I'm drinking it, how it makes me feel, all these kind of things. And then when I see my chance, I'm just going to stop again for a while. Sometimes I needed to throw things away. I had like a mocha pot already before, and I threw it away. Now I got a new one, but a smaller one. But I also know now also a bit better how to deal with it, I think. You can just stop buying coffee and you just don't go anywhere to drink it. But it's also hard to resist because if you go to friends, they'll offer you coffee. What are you going to say? No? Yes? Maybe once in a while it's okay to just give in to it. Just see what it does. But it depends on who you are, right? If you're like an alcoholic, maybe it's better to just stop. Because if you are an alcoholic and you never learned to deal with your addiction, then maybe your mind simply isn't strong enough. So once you get to the point where you say, I'm really going to stop now, you should really stop. And in that sense, I am a bit weak. I admit it. Because I wanted to stop with so many things, so many times already, but I always said, yeah, there are more important things. I still have lessons to learn. And I can't just let go of that. And right now, at what cost? Well, sometimes, because right now, right, I'm going through a transition, okay? I'm going through a transition. I'm trying to do this every day, right? I'm trying to balance my life. I'm trying to move. I'm trying to dance every day. I want to do that. I want to exercise every day. So I started filming myself doing this, and then I realized I got to a point where it got too heavy. Plus, I started drinking coffee. Before I was drinking coffee, I actually did this every day because I had nothing else, right? I would get up and I would work. And if I wanted to feel good, at some point I had to move because there was nothing else to take. And then suddenly I had coffee and I stopped moving because now, instead of working for that feeling, I replaced it. And I just really have to go to the toilet. I'm just saying that, because it's a human need, right? You could say I'm addicted to it, but now I'm just going to give into it because pretending to be strong just doesn't work, right? Just hold that thought if you're still here. If not, think about it, whatever. So, the mind of an addict works with replacement, right? You feel shit, you want to replace that. Now, we here, like I said, in the Western world or whatever, we are really lazy. Because we think, we can just buy happiness with money. Yeah? In India, like if you, for example, read books like Autobiography of a Yogi, or you listen to Ramdas, not everybody is like this, of course. But at least what you hear from how it used to be there, there would be people who would have certain methods. So you would have a certain kriya, I think it's called, which is like a section of yoga moves. And some people, they would just do that every day. They would do their job, and then at some point during the day, they would implement this specific yoga flow that worked for them, and that was a vehicle to simply keep going. It's something to hang on to, a method. But now I'm used to using things from the outside to give myself the feeling that I want. So if I want to learn how to do yoga, I first have to change the ways I engage with myself. Which is, if I'm used to using coffee or sugar or masturbation or porn or movies or other people to make myself feel better, that means I'm probably quite weak. Mentally, emotionally, physically. That, you can lump that all together and say, right now, you're very vulnerable and you're very weak. That means you have to build up a thick pelt. You have to build up a resistance. So you have to build up strength. You have to build up courage. And you have to build up motivation, all these kinds of things. Because motivation comes when you're motivated and when you have energy to spend. But if all your energy goes into watching movies and stuff, because these things, they don't just give you a feeling, they also keep you kind of trapped. Because you can never outgrow. If you watch movies your whole life, how are you supposed to grow as a person? Yeah, so movies as a method to remember who you are, they work for a while. But if you really seriously work on yourself, then at one point you're going to get to a place where you say, movies start to bore me. And I was there already a couple of times. But I kept watching movies until I got sick of them. And that's what I did with coffee. And that's what I do with masturbation and porn. I do these things until I'm so annoyed with myself of being weak all the time that I'll find a way to stop with it. And I did. I replaced so many of my habits with other habits. Before I would just watch movies every day. Every day. I would listen to music from other people. I would eat a lot of sugar. I would talk with a lot of people. I would do all kinds of things. And when I was forced, I wasn't just forced. I also forced myself to stay in one place and to meet less people, to be alone. I forced myself, literally, to be alone because I didn't want this. I wanted to break out of this cycle of, up and down and depression and feeling good. I just wanted to be centered. I wanted to remember who I was every day and who I am, and I wanted to find out who I could be. I wanted to find out if I could do the things that I admire in others. I wanted to find out if I can be strong, if I can hold my own weight, if there is a way to not be constantly depressed. And I found ways. But sometimes I get to this point where I feel, I don't know, I feel like it's too easy sometimes. I feel like, yeah, I could just do this every day. You know, I could just be really happy every day now. And I could just make a lot of art and record these videos all the time. But sometimes, because I'm working with emotions, yeah, feels like at one point you just get annoyed with it. And then you just want to change something. And so, yeah, I introduce change sometimes because I just don't manage. You know, I cannot get from that place, you know, I'm drinking coffee, I'm masturbating, I feel miserable, to just simply suddenly say, oh, now everything's perfect. Because if I'm honest, not everything's perfect. There are things which I would like to change. So I cannot accept the way things are at the moment. And that's self-torture. Right? I'm sitting here and I think like, oh man, I'm still not where I wanted to be. And that drives me mad. And then I'm getting frustrated because I'm trying to change the way things are. And then I'm trying to run away. So right now I'm forcing myself to stay put. So I have to deal with these feelings of wanting to run away. Because I want to look at that. And that means right now, I just said I'm going to drink coffee. But I also know, you know, I'm aware of the things that it does. But right now, I rather wanted to talk about this, how I feel right now, to give you something to relate to, because that's something I'm working with. So I'm just bringing it out there. Because I like these kind of mind games. But I have to sit down and I have to concern myself. So this, what I'm filming here, is actually a conversation I'm having with myself, right? I'm literally explaining to myself why I'm hanging on to addiction and how I could replace that. And I like sometimes the extra challenge. I mean, I realize, okay, right now, I could do dancing every day, but something's missing. And then I'm trying to make it extra hard, and then I drink coffee, and then, you know, I'm being pulled in my addiction into my old habits. It's like going for a visit. It's like saying, oh, that's how it used to be. You know, I can just do that instead. You know, instead of drinking coffee, I can just do some kind of active meditation. Connect with my center, then transform how I feel by actively channeling energy, right? Instead of letting the coffee do it, I can actually do it myself. And that means, you know, I'm channeling energy in an active way. Instead of just drinking coffee and then sitting on a chair, which just fucks my body, you know, the coffee in a way does channel energy. You know, it just releases it all at once, and that gives you a rush. It's like an orgasm. It's letting go. But I can also let go by just starting to trust my body and letting it move, right? Because if I'm trying to control what my hands are doing here, you know, I'm trying to think about what I'm doing. But now, right now, I'm just looking at a picture and my hands move automatically. They just do this. But now I have to feel what's happening because I don't control my hands. You know, I'm not staring at it because that takes the whole fun out of it. You know, I'm just looking at a picture and I trust my hands will do the right thing. That's a bit like juggling. The same thing. And right now I have to juggle a lot of things. You know, I have to juggle my Medium account where I post stories. I have to juggle my Instagram account. I have to juggle YouTube. And I have to juggle making music. And then I also have to juggle sometimes people contacting me. I have to juggle my own needs to eat. I have to juggle my needs for exercise, my physical needs, my emotional needs, my need for sleep. So right now, there are certain needs which I focus on so that, you know, I can intensely work with those needs and learn to get better at them, because the more I do something, the easier it becomes, right? The more often I solve the Rubik's Cube, the better my mind is going to adjust to solving the Rubik's Cube. So the more I play chess, the better my mind is going to learn how to play chess and how to adapt to my opponent. And I could say I'm actually playing chess with myself, because if I think I'm a loser, I'm probably going to lose all the time, because every time it gets hard, I'm just going to give in. And I'm just going to drink that coffee. But what if you try strengthening your resolve and your will, and you say, you know what, I'm not going to buy, anything except food and things to clean myself or something. I'm not going to buy anything for a whole year. It's really tough, man. It's really tough. Have you ever tried not buying anything? To just use what is available to you? No, you're going to become very creative. So instead of wasting your money to buy things to make yourself feel better, you just use what you have. And then sometimes people come and they just give you things. I didn't buy any clothes anymore. I got this because somebody, people buy stuff all the time. And then they come and they give you something. And then you have money to do other things with it. You can spend that on a holiday. Or you just say, I'm not going to travel for a whole year. I'm just going to figure out who I am by spending time alone, by going hiking on my own. So you replace all these things that you feel like you could never live without with other things. And that's what I did. I replaced spending time with people with spending time on my own. And I got so good at it that I really like this. I really like it. And that also means that if I would be now in a situation, right, where, I would move in with my wife and we'd have children and stuff, perfect. I know what I have to do. This is my space, You're welcome. Right now I'm still working hard. I don't have that much time because I'm still pushing through, right? But that's why I keep working, because I see there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Because I know that, I got very good at what I'm doing. I'm very good at talking. I'm very good at, translating emotions into all kinds of different forms. I can transmute my emotion into a painting, a song, into a text. It just happens automatically. My mind simply does that. And that's the same with solving problems. I got so good at solving my own problems by listening, because I do it. I don't think about this too much. I observe and I feel, and sometimes I have thoughts, but mostly I feel my way through my depression. So if I wake up and I feel shit, I'm trying to imagine what I have to do today. That's like visualizing what your next step is. So before I act, I take a bit of time to feel into myself, what do I need right now? And if my feeling says drink coffee, well, I'm just gonna do it. And sometimes I get to this kind of barrier where I think I don't want to drink another coffee because I think things should be different right now. And then I'm thinking about it, and every time my mind goes back to the coffee, I'm like, oh, damn it. Okay, right now I'm in the time where I drink coffee. So what do? I learn from it. And so I drink the coffee, I come here, and for, I don't know, maybe 2 hours, I'm just talking about stuff that wants to come out. Because right now, I could stand here and dance all the time. But right now I want to fill my channel with the things I have to say so that people have stuff to work with, so that they can listen to it and understand. Because right now I'm in this phase, right? In 5 years, I wouldn't have to talk about this anymore like this. But right now it's still an issue for me, in a way. But I also have experienced all these things already. I know this. So to me, it's not like, oh, I'm drinking coffee and then I will drink it. I know right now I'm working with coffee to push myself to the next level. And then I stop again because I know I can do it. I know I can stop watching porn. And then the question is, why don't you do it then? Yeah. The mind of an addict finds a way to cling to the addiction because you identify with it. I've been watching porn for 17 years. That takes a while. It takes a while to replace that. And right now I feel vulnerable. It's an excuse, I know that. But that's the way the mind of an addict works. It works with sweet talking yourself into doing it. You're always going to find an excuse. But the problem with addictions is that you have a kind of a love and hate relationship with these things. And that's why it's probably sometimes better, if you think something's really good, yeah, something's really nice. Oh, I love coffee. But what does it do to you? Because you can demonize things, but you can also angelize them. I can hate coffee and I can love it. Or I see coffee for what it is. It helps in certain ways. So can I really say that watching porn and masturbating, even without ejaculation, which is a way of channeling your energy into your body instead of out of it through an ejaculation, that takes a lot of strength, but it allows you also to, it's more like tantra, right? Right? You are aware of energy that is flowing. And if you masturbate and you have an ejaculation and semen comes out, or sperm, then you're losing a lot of energy. And one way of training to channel your energy from down here to up here, where you have clarity and vision, and where you know who you are, or here, whatever, is by learning how to have an orgasm without ejaculating. And that means it's gonna go through your whole body. And Mantak Chia talks about this, but it's basically you have to train your pelvic floor muscles. That's the muscles between your anus and your scrotum. And you learn to contract them. Whew. And I've trained that for a long time. And it works. You don't feel as depleted because your body doesn't have to work extra hard to produce more sperm, which is basically energy. No. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's one method that helps me to push through sometimes. So I use it. When I feel like I'm really low and I can't manage, I just do it. And then suddenly, I'm writing again. Because that's what I want. The emotion I was just facing was too heavy, and I was like this. I was like this. And then I take this stick, and the stick in this moment is coffee or masturbating. That's just how it is. Sue me, right? Sue me. I don't actually feel ashamed about it anymore. Because I know why I'm doing it. Because it propels me to the next level. I'm very fast-paced. You know, if I have something in my mind and I want to get there, I'm just gonna do everything that I can to get there. And if it's love and somebody who I feel I want to be with, you know, I have a lot of determination, believe me. Because that really motivates me. So I found something, a goal, and that motivated me. And for that, I first had to ask myself, what do I want? And when I knew what I wanted, bam, nothing was holding me back anymore. And I was pushing away everything that was holding me back. And right now, right, it was people that were holding me back because I was clinging to them and they were clinging to me. And it was too much coffee that was holding me back. You know, it was my anger that was holding me back, so I used my anger, boom, to push myself out of my anger. So I do whatever it takes. If I feel stuck, I change something. If I feel stuck because I'm trying to stop drinking coffee and I'm trying to be the perfect person, and I get to that point where I just like, I cannot push through it anymore. You know, there's like this barrier, and then I feel into this. Okay, what's holding me back right now? What could I do to push through? And then it comes, drink coffee. Okay. But then I also pay attention, right? Because I know now what coffee does, the potential it has, but also the trap. But because I've already been there and I've already proven to myself that I can survive without coffee, you know, it's not this, oh, I need this, because I know how to get there by myself through physical exercise. Now it's just a matter of implementing that, because that's also something that one has to remember, right? You start working out, you start moving, you start shaking your hips, right? You start moving your body. Yeah. Now your body is going to start to heal and it's going to feel terrible. It's going to feel terrible. Because healing is, in a sense, suffering. Because you have to suffer through all the pain that you've been pushing now. Now it has to come out. And on its way out, you know, you're gonna get a whiff of what you were pushing down all the time. Because you actually have to look at these feelings. Happy Transformation Day.